With only a couple days left in 2022, I thought it would be the perfect time to give a little rundown on how the year went based off the roller coasters I rode. I'm going to provide you all the winners and losers of 2022. Some of these roller coasters will be new for me this year, some are returning attractions that have either climbed or dropped in ranking. Before we get to this list of winners and losers, do me a favor by clicking on that like button, and if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. My first winner is going to be VelociCoaster, located at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. Before taking my first ride on this roller coaster, I knew that this coaster was going to be good, but how good is what really took me by surprise. After getting a few rides in, it was apparent to me that VelociCoaster would now be my new number one. The ride has it all: great theming, excellent pacing, airtime, insane airtime, hang time, inversions. As someone who isn't super thrilled with inversions, I can say that I loved every element on VelociCoaster. Somehow Intamin found a way to turn a basic Immelman and dive loop and make them exciting. Let's not forget about the Mosasaurus roll, the best inversion in the world. This moment provides some insane upside down airtime, as I like to call it. Sticking around in the same park, our next winner is going to be Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. You don't have to be a Harry Potter fan to enjoy this elaborate, uber-themed roller coaster. The ride features 7 launches, the most on any roller coaster, over 5,000 feet of track, and, spoiler alert, a switch track and drop track. Yeah, this coaster is so much fun. It's not the craziest coaster, but the theming really pulls you into the world of Harry Potter. To really enhance your ride experience, I recommend riding this roller coaster at night. Hagrid's is currently my favorite night ride roller coaster. Finally, I have to mention the trains designed like motorbikes. Passengers will have the option of sitting on the bike or in the sidecar. Taller guests, be advised that the sidecar doesn't have as much legroom, so if possible, go for the motorbike instead. Now, we come to the first loser of the year, and that's Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit at Universal Studios Orlando. I know that this coaster has some fans, but wow, did this ride let me down. First thing wrong was its lame, outdated soundtrack. The roller coaster feels like it's stuck in 2008, which if you like the music from that era, then more power to you, but the sound pick seemed lackluster to me. Of course, they also have their classic song choices, but I don't know, that just kind of seems like average. But anyways, next, the ride has a noticeable rattle that can give you an unwanted headache, which I guess is every headache would be unwanted, but anyways, it's not a glossy, smooth ride like it should be. The worst of this takes place during the first half of the ride, but if you are seated over the wheel, it can be a ruinous experience. The only redeeming quality of this attraction is how cool it looks at night, but yeah, tear this coaster down and replace it with something better, something that deserves to be at Universal Studios Orlando. Heading back into the winter camp, we have Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. I think it came as no surprise that Iron Gwazi is a great coaster. Now, is it my favorite coaster? No, but what we have here is an excellent coaster that has lots of great airtime moments, snappy transitions, fast pacing, like super fast pacing, and neat inversions. The death roll is one of my favorite moments, right along with that wave turn that flies over the station. Now, if Busch Gardens Tampa could just figure out the operations of this attraction, start sending those trains, that would be awesome. One more loser for the state of Florida, and don't come at me, but yeah, that's going to be Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Disney's Magic Kingdom. I know some of you are probably ready to get those pitchforks and raid my home, but let me explain. My first time riding Big Thunder Mountain was back in 2009. I thought it was an excellent family coaster with great theming. Well, the theming is still good, but definitely starting to show its age. I think it needs a major overhaul like the version out in Disneyland received. The ride was also pretty rough. It's not like it's unrideable or anything, but it felt somewhat janky. Calling it a loser might be an overstatement, but it did drop slightly in my ranking since 2009. After a 2-year delay, Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened up Pantheon, which will be our next winner. This is a multi-launching roller coaster by Intamin Amusement Rides. The coaster's claim to fame is that switch track element that features a swing launch, meaning that the train travels multiple times over the same launch section until it builds up enough speed to complete the course. Pantheon is an excellent ride that has a couple standout moments. That swing launch is, of course, so much fun, especially with all those couple pops of ejector airtime during the launch. The next standout moment is the giant zero-G stall. It feels more like you're hanging upside down for a couple seconds. I wouldn't say it has hang time, but more like a weightlessness sensation. The only downfall of Pantheon has to be the lack of theming, but the whole ride experience makes up for any lacking of. Okay, for my next pick, I'm not sure if you would call it a winner or a loser, but that would be Jolly Rancher Remix at Hershey Park. On the one side, this is a clear upstep from your typical boomerang roller coaster. The park has done everything possible to make this a more enjoyable experience. First, they removed the bulky, uncomfortable over-the-shoulder restraints with the better vest straps. Next, the theming is quite unique and fitting for Hershey Park. The lighting effects in the tunnel, in the station, and also the lift, of course there's a scent in the tunnel as well, it all encapsulates the whole ride experience. Also, how many coasters do you know have a scent inside of a tunnel? Either it rotates through different Jolly Rancher flavors, which is pretty cool. In the end though, this is still a boomerang coaster, but yeah, Jolly Rancher Remix is the best of the bunch. So one of the only new to me parks I went to this year was Silver Dollar City. The first winner at this park has to be Time Traveler. This is an incredible roller coaster that takes the whole coaster experience to the next level. The ride layout is very unique, starting off with that vertical plummet right out of the station. If you are seated in the back row, the train whips you over that hill. Like most mock coasters, the launch isn't anything special, but the real winner with Time Traveler is the spinning cars. These spinning cars make each ride on Time Traveler different from the last. You could be traveling through the corkscrew backwards, sideways, forwards, every direction provides a different feeling. With each new ride on this coaster, I started to like Time Traveler even more. Dare I say it's becoming one of my top 5 coasters ever. Honestly, most of the coasters at Silver Dollar City are going to be winners, except for one. The only loser has to be Thunderation. I had high hopes for this Aero Mine Train coaster. It's another weird layout as the ride performs more than half of the whole layout before reaching the lift hill. Unfortunately, the track is super janky, earning the uncoveted spot of being my worst new coaster experience of 2023. If you can look past all the kidney punches that the train gives you during like every transition, then maybe you'll like Thunderation, but for me, it's a one and done coaster. Alright, so let's jump over to Six Flags Great Adventure, where I have 3 roller coasters that have changed in ranking. Our first loser is going to be Jersey Devil Coaster. It's not to say that this is a bad ride, it's not, but it's definitely have dropped in quality from its first year to now. It's really deteriorating faster than I was expecting. You can feel like every transition of the track, the restraints are just not that great, and I don't know, the ride just feels like it's just going downhill, unfortunately, which makes me kind of wonder what's the longevity of these single rail coasters. A winner in the park is going to be Nitro. I just love this roller coaster. It seems to be getting better and better every year that I ride it. The airtime is fantastic. It's an intense roller coaster. It's probably one of the most intense B&M hypercoasters out there. I gray out every time during that helix. The final loser at Six Flags Great Adventure is unfortunately going to be El Toro. This used to be my #1 roller coaster, and then it kind of moved down into my top 5. And now, I don't even know if it makes it into my top 10, let alone like top 15 coasters. It's just unfortunate, it just keeps deteriorating. Obviously, the 2 incidents that's happened over these past 2 years hasn't done the ride any good. It's just getting rougher and rougher, and it doesn't feel like the park has making the right changes to improve this coaster. Now, I do understand there's some major track work happening to the ride, but I don't know if it's just going to get it back up and running or if it's actually going to improve the coaster, which it really needs to happen, because this is a fantastic coaster with great airtime. But in the state that it is now, honestly, I would actually rather go ride Nitro than El Toro, which is unfortunate because El Toro is technically the better coaster. So for now, it's kind of going onto my loser list. Alright, our next winner is taking us over to Kings Island, and that would be Banshee. My first ride on this giant invert was back in 2017. I remember thinking the ride was butter smooth and super forceful. Well, fast forward to 2020, Banshee developed this nasty rattle that pops up throughout the first part of the ride. Well, I gave this coaster another chance in 2022, and I thought it was operating better than ever. If you ride up in the front row, which that's really important, you need to ride on the front row in Banshee. It kind of reminded me of my experience back in 2017. It's a fun, smooth, forceful roller coaster. It's not my favorite inverted coaster, but it's now added back into my must-ride coasters at Kings Island. My last winner is also going to be at Kings Island, Beast. This legendary wooden coaster underwent the knife during the off-season. A good chunk of the ride was completely retracked, some portions of the ride was even reprofiled like the first drop. I am happy to report that Beast is operating better than ever. Sure, it still has that super slow lift at the beginning of the ride, but all the super rough spots have been smoothed out, allowing you to enjoy this incredible roller coaster. I used to pass up on Beast during some of my visits to the park, but now with this retrack, Beast has also been added to my must-ride collection with every visit. So, the last loser of the year, it has to be Grizzly over at King's Dominion. My first ride on Grizzly was in 2016, and I thought it was a typical wooden coaster. Nothing bad nor special, just right down the middle of the road. Well, after my 2022 ride, Grizzly went to the middle of the road coaster right into the gutter, down the drain, and into the sewer. I know that I said that Thunderation was my worst coaster experience of 2022, but it actually might be Grizzly. Let's just say that they're tied for last place. Anyways, the good news is that King's Dominion heard our complaints and is now working on some major renovations this off-season. Hopefully, Grizzly will be restored just like the Beast, so it can continue to thrill the next generation of coaster enthusiasts. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Till next time, this is X Screen Thrills.